Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Joe Knows the 2021 NFL Draft Class. And today we're covering, guess what? Yes, you can tell by that, I'm sure, and all the Cowboys gear. We are reviewing your Dallas Cowboys. That's right, Andrew. Show that pride. John, Coach Schepps, show that pride, baby. All right. I don't have Cowboys gear. I'm not a Cowboy fan myself, but I have Cowboy gear that I've been dying to wear. And so I broke it out. Here it is. Hasn't seen my head in about 20 years, but I think it actually fits pretty well. And so this is the part of the episode before we actually get into our content. I'm a Giants fan myself, but I have so much respect for every team and fan base out there. You all bring all your teams, your history, the great wins, the heartbreaking losses. That's what develops your fandom, and then you bring your fandom to the rest of the NFL. And 32 teams, it makes for a great sport and a great league, and that's where I love it. Dallas Cowboys, you have a fantastic history. I find it always to be fascinating. You're never a bad team. If you are bad, it's like 1 or 2 years, like in the late 80s. Other than that, you're always in the thick of things. Won a bunch of Super Bowls, a lot of great names throughout your history. And, of course, the ever-famous Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And but you guys, you have your fan base. You are a legion. You're everywhere, massive numbers. I grew up in the 1980s here in northeastern New Jersey. Of course, we were mostly Giants fans, Jets fans, and you had a smattering of fans from other teams. There are quite a few Dallas Cowboys fans. So, and I've driven across country 5 times. I've met Cowboys fans in pretty much every state, everywhere. They're all over the place. Andrew is from Australia, as a matter of fact, and he is a Cowboys fan. So they're all over the place. But let me formally introduce the guests here. We've got joining us at Coach Schepps. Coach Schepps is one of the co-hosts of Toilets to Titles, longtime Dallas Cowboys fan, which we were just discussing before. And below at the bottom of the screen, you have at Andrew Campey. Now, Andrew's down in Australia, and he's one of our contributors here at Toilets to Titles, like I am. And he's also the designer, the creator of our just released today, Sunday, August 1st, of our new website. Great job, Andrew. We've already seen it. It is beautiful. We're so proud of it. You did a great job, and it looks fantastic. We hope the rest of you will love it, and we know that you will. And this show is also dedicated to all the Cowboys fans that I've known throughout the years. Scott, which is actually John's brother-in-law, my cousin's husband. We have Jeff. We've got Michelle. We've got Artie, a whole bunch of people I've known for a long time and that I grew up with. And everyone, this is dedicated to you and all the Cowboys fans out there. Where you can find the show, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Facebook, where we have 2 pages, Toilets to Titles, and the other one is When a Family Breaks, where we basically partake in the trading of sports memorabilia. Very cool. Check it out. And don't forget, since you're watching, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It takes not even a half a second. Bloop. Just push that button. And even if you're not watching us on Apple, if you can go to Apple, give us that 5-star review. It really helps us a lot. Takes about 30 seconds if you're not on Apple. And last but not least, you can go to patreon.com/toilets to titles to learn how you can further support the show. Because we're a great bunch of guys and we're doing all this content for you. I love the fandom. We're going to get right to it right now. Juicy content. Cowboys, you really made me work this one. I'll tell you, 11 picks. Holy cow. I had to do a lot of research. Well, I did a lot of research leading up to the draft and for months leading up to the draft. And I'm not going to lie and say that I knew everything about every player. And there were some names in the draft that I wasn't familiar with, but I knew a lot about a lot of players. And I do go back and, refresh my memory before I do these episodes. And I had forgotten that you actually had 11 picks. I thought you had like 9 picks. You had 11 picks. And as Coach Schepps was saying a little while ago, you guys have been working the compensatory picks, which is great. Very, very smart. You've been stocking up here. So you guys, anyone who's a fan of the NFL, even if you're not a Cowboys fan, but you follow the NFL, you follow you know about the Cowboys, they've needed defense. Defense was very poor for them last year and mediocre for the past few years. I try to develop a theme with every defense with every team. Something I noticed that really sticks out about their draft class. Some teams are offensive line, and in this case, as an example, And in this case, it was defense. He had 11 picks. 8 out of the 11 picks were on the D side, which you needed because your offense is loaded. There's really not much more there unless you wanted to get some depth, but you needed a lot on defense. You did that. And you had that included 3 cornerbacks, 3 linebackers, and 2 defensive tackles. So we're going to dive into those right now. And overall, before we get into the first pick, the stud that you picked, how did you guys feel about your draft class overall? John, Coach Schepps.
I felt very pleased. You know, when it came up to the first pick, I know we're not getting into it. There were 2 guys I wanted, you know, and one of them was Rashawn Slater and one of them was Micah Parsons. And I was leaning Micah Parsons, but I would have been just as happy with Slater. And, you know, I like what they did. You know, overall, I know we're going to get into each pick, but we brought in attitude. We brought in playmakers. They brought in guys they believe in, guys that fit Dan Quinn's scheme. So I'm pretty happy with it. And so far in camp, it seems like all these young guys are really stepping up and stepping in and making some plays. So I'm pretty excited about what we got coming down the pipe with them.
Yeah, you should. And it's funny because I remember like earlier this year, we first started reaching out to each other when I first started following Toilets to Titles. We were texting each other back and forth about players that we like, and we both mentioned Micah Parsons. And I'm a Giants fan myself, and we had drafted we originally had the 11th slot, the 11th spot in the first round. And I myself, I would have been happy with Parsons. I would have been happy with Rashawn Slater. I actually had my eyes set on a wide receiver like Jalen Waddle, who never made it down there, or Devontae Smith, who Eagles traded up and got. And I was fine with that. But if they had stayed with that 11th pick, I would have been happy with Slater, but I really wanted Parsons myself. I think the guy's a difference maker. And how about you, Andrew? How did you feel about just overall about your class? Were you happy that they really focused on defense? Were you happy with the final result just overall?
Muted.
Oh, muted.
Rookie mistake, my bad.
Okay, we're used to this. You're not.
I was going to say, firstly, I do love the fact that, and we didn't do this intentionally, but being from down under, that I'm at the bottom of the screen, I think that's lovely. And then
it's appropriate. Huh?
Yeah, it's so funny because last year with the draft being so weird, and Jerry ending up doing it from his super yacht, and everyone was sort of talking about how amazing our draft class is, and it was sort of really hard to get that immediate feedback on a draft class on how good it is. And so from my point of view, I think everyone looked at our team and thought we need defense.
Yeah.
And then I think you've got to look at it and say what we've seen so far, at least, these guys should be able to, compete at least for positions, which is, what you need on a defense that's no good. So
yeah. Hey, I think on paper, I think you guys should be happy. What were we going to say, Coach?
I was just going to say also, I think what you notice, a little bit of a changing of the guard, more so from the Garrett years to now the McCarthy years. Whereas last year, I don't think McCarthy really had a chance to step in with Will McClay and Steven. And I still think a little bit more of the old guard that we drafted. This year, attitude. Like back with Jason Garrett, it was RKG. That was the thing, right kind of guy. This year, we got some attitude, some guys with some suspect character, not just Parsons. KELVIN Joseph, I mean, he used to play at LSU, left LSU, went and played at Kentucky. So this guy's a rapper. He's got some off-the-field stuff. But
is he a rapper?
Yeah. His name is
Darius Tony.
Hot Boy Flat or something like that. Fat Boy Stacks, I don't know. He's a ball player. But I'm just so one thing you notice from this draft class is there's a little bit of attitude and a little bit of edge, and that's something I'm actually welcoming because we've kind of been soft on the defensive side of the football for quite some time.
Yeah, you have been, and I agree. Listen, I think when it comes to I like attitude in all my football players. The right type of attitude, but especially when it comes to offensive line and on defense, I love attitude. And but I thought you guys did well here with all those picks. I think you helped out the team quite a bit. And I do like the signing. I do like your new defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. I thought that was a really good move. I like him a lot. Anyway, we'll get into the specific picks. Micah Parsons, a linebacker, Penn State. Anyone who's been following NCAA football, especially leading up to this draft, is very familiar with this name. Many fans of many teams really wanted him, understandably so. I'm actually kind of surprised that he even fell to this spot. I think that he's that good where he was actually a top 5 player, I think, in this draft, or at least top 7. He's got good size, 6'3", 246 pounds. And for me, when I was trying to when I was thinking about Micah Parsons before, I'm like, you know, how would I describe this guy myself? And there was just one word that just kept popping into my mind, and that's the word presence. This guy is going to be a presence on your defense, in so many ways. I think he's going to be the leader of your defense. If not right now, he's a rookie. He will eventually develop into being the leader of the defense. He's going to be the face of that defense. And this guy is a presence on the field. He will be felt. He is a hard-hitting guy. He's the type of football player, type of linebacker that I like. He's got like some old school in him, kind of like a little Ray Lewis, maybe a little, you know, smaller than Ray Lewis, but he's got
LeVar Arrington.
Yeah, he's like I think he'll be a better version than LeVar Arrington. But not that Arrington was bad, but I never felt like he lived up to the billing. The dude had, in 2019, his sophomore year, so still a young guy. What is it, like 19 years old? 109 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, forced 4 fumbles, 5 sacks, and this is as a sophomore. The guy is consistently behind the line of scrimmage, and that's why I wanted this guy. That's what I love. And now we hear news about, rightfully so, a good move. It looks like they're going to start trying to use him as a bit of a pass rusher too on the edge. But anyway, that's my take about Micah Parsons. I know Coach and I can go on about this guy, especially Coach, since you got him now, but I always loved him. Andrew, what did you think of your pick? Were you psyched when you found out that the Cowboys drafted him?
Okay, so firstly, let's just clarify that it's 109 tackles, not 109 sacks. Because if he had 109 sacks,
my gosh. You know what? False advertising. This is, you know what? I did it on purpose. This is an example of fake news. Don't believe me, kids. I got too excited before when I was writing up about Micah Parsons. I'm gonna change this as we but go ahead, Andrew.
No worries.
I'm gonna get the facts, FAX up here.
So I guess from my point of view, I was definitely thinking that we were going to look at cornerback. And so I think from my point of view, you know, seeing those 2 cornerbacks go before us, I think was a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I'm still a bit in shock that Justin Fields dropped as much as he did. I thought he was going to go in one of, you know, I think the Broncos might be sitting back in a few years' time questioning that decision. Even,
and the Panthers.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't a Broncos chat, but you know, my argument is if they really wanted Rodgers, then why didn't they get Fields and then try and package that up in a deal or something? But nevertheless, but yeah,
look, you really had your eye set on a cornerback.
Yeah, and then once
needed a cornerback, but
then once the top 2 were gone, then
which one did you want?
I would have been happy with either. I think, like, I just looked at our secondary as a problem basically, but I think, you know, Parsons, if Parsons was playing any position with his talent level, he would have been probably top 5. So the fact he's dropped is because of the position he plays. And I think, you know, he's got that, you know, you were talking, I think he can do a bit of everything. I think he can sort of float around a bit. He can pass rush. So I think people are selling him short on thinking that he's an off-ball linebacker who's not going to really contribute in a lot of ways. And I think his athleticism is going to lead to him doing a lot of stuff. So yeah, I can't argue with talent. My argument is, you know, worry about positions later, get talent, and then get a coach that can handle the talent.
And that's what you got. Coach, was there something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think he was like, I love Devin White. Devin White's a dude, but Devin White's developed. I think coming out of college, I think Micah Parsons is a better prospect coming out than Devin White was when Devin White came out. All right, and Devin White went 5th. Even I think he's a better prospect than Devin Bush when Devin Bush came out. And Devin Bush, I think, went top 10. So I really like him, man. And I also think, this is what I tell people. I fell in love with Micah Parsons when I watched his Cotton Bowl film against Memphis from 2019. If you want an example of what Micah Parsons can do, go watch that game film. I think he had something like 16 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, sideline to sideline, rushing the passer, tackles up. Like the guy, he does everything. He's and he's they're even playing him. They put him at D tackle this week. They had him take a pass D tackle, and that you're a Giants fan. That should ring bell with you. You what was that called? The NASCAR package, right?
When you get all your pass rushers up there, all
man with Justin Tuck,
Tuck did most of his damage,
right?
From the inside in terms of the pass rush.
That was man. That changed the whole landscape of things. Nobody was doing that when the Giants did it.
Tuck, and then they'd have like another guy on the outs, on the way out.
Chris Campey.
What's that?
Chris Campey.
Well, he was a D tackle. I'm thinking of Matthias Kiwanuka.
Okay.
who was like an edge who was drafted, but he wound up playing outside linebacker because they really had no other place to put him. But anyway, I hear you, Andrew, in terms of needing a cornerback, and I thought the cornerback draft this year was good, and especially I think that the top three in J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, and Caleb Farley. But you know what? I think you guys got a better player. I think you got a guy who's got a higher floor than those guys. Surtain's got a high floor for cornerback, and I think the other two cornerbacks are going to have a lot of success. But I think you actually got an overall better player, even though cornerback is probably more valuable. But I think you get a guy
available from Miami right now.
What's that?
There's one available from Miami right now.
Oh, what? Who's that?
Xavier Howard. He wants out.
What? I heard someone mention that before, and I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy. Well, I guess that'll be a roundtable discussion tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we're going to move on from the big stuff that you got in the first round that I absolutely love. And your second round pick, I liked a lot too. I like this player, KELVIN JOSEPH out of Kentucky. He was a transfer, coach, as you mentioned before, a transfer from LSU. In 9 games in 2020, shortened season, he had 4 interceptions. That's good. And the guy before he transferred to before he transferred from LSU, this guy was getting his hands on the ball pretty well too. He had a lot of pass deflections. The guy is 5'11", 197 pounds. That's a good size for a cornerback. He's got size, length, and speed. I think he's got enough of it all to develop into a cornerback one. And I just say to normal everyday fans out there that don't pay as much attention to the NFL as we do, that transitioning from the NCAA to NFL as a cornerback is very tough. So I would say, temper expectations this year. Not that he can't do well, but when I say that I believe he can and will develop into a CB1, I'm really talking about like next year and the year after that. But I think this guy's got a lot of potential, and he also plays the run well too, which is, I wouldn't say it's a must, but it's a nice bonus from a cornerback. Coach, what do you think?
I like him. I like his attitude. I like his confidence. I like his film. He's a sticky guy. He's a sticky type corner, right? He's not the blanket type who's going to be over the top for you and run your route for you. He's the guy who's going to be in your pocket, right? You're running, you're getting a hot dog, he's putting the mustard on it, that type of cat.
Right.
Right now he's running with the twos. We still got Diggs is practicing well. They still got Anthony Brown. They still got Jordan Lewis. So right now Shepard is with the twos, but he's going to see a lot of playing time. And I think it's all, the fact that this guy is another guy. So we got Diggs last year in the second. And I know this isn't about last year's class, but that was, he was a first round prospect. So now we're playing with house money. We end up getting Parsons, who should have been top 10. So this KELVIN JOSEPH pick, this was just bonus. You know what I mean? So now this guy, I think, I'm excited for what we're going to see from him again, because he's got confidence. We went from having a guy like Brandon Carr, like we've got guys, Morris Claiborne. They just remind me of dogs with their tail between their legs. Something goes wrong and they just kind of crumble, And this guy seems like he's got the type of attitude where he wants you to throw at him because he's going to go after it and he believes in himself. So I'm excited to have that in our secondary.
Yeah. I like attitude myself. So Andrew, they got a cornerback for you in the second round.
Yeah, my argument is, like the old adage out there about quarterbacks is, if you've got 2 good quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. Yep. But as far as cornerbacks go, cornerbacks you can basically never have too many. If you've got too many, then you chuck some in as a free safety and away you go. So, I'm a big fan of getting, these days you're always playing with 3 all the time anyway, aren't you? So, from my point of view, it was good value in the second round to get him in there. And then, Anthony Brown, worried about how he's going to go injury wise. That's probably his biggest thing.
He's just solid. He's just a solid guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just okay. He's fine, but I want somebody to upgrade over him.
Yeah, but so I'm as you said, I'm not 100% sure on how these rookies are going to go this year, but if we can get another good year out of Brown just being consistent, and then I think Diggs probably takes another step in his second year. I'm kind of hoping that these guys are going to come in and maybe they can pick their spots a bit in the first year and just come in, have a bit of an impact, maybe get that that tricky interception or something like that, and then use it for a building block for the future. That's kind of my expectations with the cornerbacks.
So I think they're going for guys who are risk takers, because that's what you'll notice with Trayvon Diggs. He's going to take risks. He's going to get burnt. But the thing is, with our offense, you're going to expect to score 30 to 40 points a game. So the other team is going to score. We're going to be scoring quick. The other team is going to score. So it's fine. The mistakes are fine as long as you're getting turnovers every now and again. Because, again, we're scoring quick. The other team's going to score. So they're getting guys that, all right, you make a mistake, but now you have to go out there again and try again. And I think Trayvon Diggs, Shepard, those are the type of guys who are going to get you some turnovers. But the guy I really like, I know you're going to bring him up, this guy, the third round pick, or nobody knew about, he's making waves in camp.
Yeah. Don't get there yet. Let's hang on. Let's just go before we jump ahead.
We'll see which one. The first one, speaking of third round picks, the first one was a defensive tackle that I had my eye on a lot. Because I thought the Giants as well could, needed to shore up their interior. They lost Dalvin Tomlinson, and I had my eye on OSA ODIGHIZUWA, whose brother actually used to play for the Giants as a defensive end, also out of UCLA. This guy is 6'2", 280 pounds, which is a decent size for a defensive tackle. It's not huge, but the guy is actually, he's athletic, and he consistently, and I didn't put the specific numbers up, but he consistently put up nice numbers of tackles for loss and sacks, including six tackles for loss and 4 sacks, and only 7 starts in 2020. The guy's a penetrator, as you see in the blue bar here in caps. He's a penetrator, and he's versatile. He can play the interior, and he can play defensive end as well. He's also high school wrestling champ, I think 3-time. I saw
Parsons was as well. Parsons was as well. Micah Parsons was as well.
Not surprised. You hear more and more wrestlers, people who have like wrestling backgrounds, like in high school, playing football. It used to be like all about basketball, like people who play basketball in the off season. Now we hear more and more wrestling, which is great because, hey, it's a big part of football. So anyway, OSA ODIGHIZUWA. I like this guy for you guys a lot. I mean, I like him, period. And I like what I read up on him. I think he was just in the 3rd round. I thought this was really nice value. Defensive tackles are not sexy picks, whatever. You need them, and they need to stop the run, and you need to push the pocket in the interior, and that's what this guy does. And the guy's a penetrator. Like I said, he's got a lot of tackles for loss. He's an athletic big man, and I like that. Coach, what do you think? What do you think about OSA?
I think we need D tackle. I think we kind of dropped the ball with Tristan Hill. There's a lot of upside there. That hasn't really panned out. Last year he started to look like he was turning a corner, but I'm not sure. We really need defensive tackle help. Neville Gallimore from Oklahoma, he's coming around. So I think he's going to lock in that spot. I wouldn't be surprised if Tristan Hill starts the season on the PUP. We don't see him for about 8 weeks. So OSA right now, he's getting reps with the ones. All right, Tyrone Crawford's gone. We no longer have him inside. And OSA's doing decent at camps. Like you said, he's a penetrator. He's a pocket collapser as well. He's very strong. He's already, he's made a few passes, knocking down passes and stuff. So, they like what they see from him. He's getting playing time right now, and I'm excited if he can come in and contribute.
I don't know all that much about your line, but I'm just, I think highly of ODIGHIZUWA. I just wouldn't be surprised whether it was the Cowboys or another team he'd been picked by, I should say, if he actually wound up starting his rookie year.
He's running with the ones right now.
Yeah, and I caught what you said there before a few minutes ago, and I wasn't surprised. How about yourself, Andrew? Any thoughts on OSA?
To be honest, don't know too much about him as a player, but going back to our line.
You know what?
Our line is
tackles aren't sexy anyway, so. But that's what I'm here to do the research.
As Schepps kind of mentioned, the issue that we have is we've got a whole bunch of guys with potential, but no one's actually kind of stepping up and taking that position. Yeah. So it's just like every week when it's, this talk about the defensive line, it's sort of like in a couple of positions, mainly the defensive tackles. It's, we have this guy, we have this guy, we have this guy. It's like no one's really, you'd almost say no one's even penciled in, let alone written in pen or stone. So, getting more people to throw at this position to basically wait and try and find someone who's going to step above the pack so that we don't have this kind of glut of guys with potential. I think, it's probably the biggest hole that I see. I feel like there's other positions where people are sort of starting to step up a bit we can go, okay, he's probably the starter there. But defensive line, you know, there's probably 4 guys that could start at defensive tackle at the moment for the Cowboys, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Sounds
And
like the
it's
same
not
situation for many teams actually with the defensive tackle. A lot of it's, you know, just a lot of like rotational guys. You might have like one if you're running a 4-3-D, you might have like you know, one ideal starter and like the other spot, like the rotating guys out quite a bit, like 3 guys. But you know, I think your first 3 picks, I think you might have gotten 3 starters here. 3, you know, I think you got yourself obviously Parsons. I think is going to be like a perennial Pro Bowler, to be honest with you. I think Kelvin Joseph can. I think he will develop into a, you know, at least a CB2. But I think he's got a ceiling for CB1. And I think OSA ODIGHIZUWA, like Coach said before, he's already running with the ones. I think he's going to be started. I think he's going to be a #1 defensive tackle for you sooner than you think, than many people think. Moving on to another 3rd round pick, and this was the 21st pick overall in the 3rd round, Chauncey Golston out of Iowa. This guy was actually kind of interesting. You know, he's 6'5", he's 269 pounds. He's got and I didn't put down the number here. He's a tall guy, and he's got a very long wingspan, and I like that myself in defensive ends. I believe you can be a great defensive end to be like 6'2", you know, but when you see guys like 6'5", long wingspan, these are guys that, you know, hey, running backs have to get around these guys if they're, you know, if they're running at them. And also you're putting those arms up when the quarterback is trying to throw the, you know, trying to throw the ball. I remember a great quote from Tom Brady in Super Bowl 46 when JPP was in his prime playing for the Giants, 2nd year. And, you know, he was wreaking havoc on the Patriots offensive line. And he's got those long arms, and you just put him up whenever Brady's trying to throw in his direction. And there was, you know, Brady heard, you know, you could hear Brady on the sideline saying it's like, you know, throwing into a forest, you know, just long arms, trees. And so I like long defensive ends. And I thought for 3rd round, I know you guys are trying to shore up, add to the depth of your defense. And here you're starting to stockpile these picks. What did you think, Coach?
I just think so. This pick, I mentioned Tyrone Crawford earlier. He was a bit of a tweener, you know, defensive tackle, defensive end. And I think this pick this year, Tyrone Crawford's gone. They let him go. I don't even think he's been picked up. But I think this pick was a replacement for him. I think they see him as a guy who can play inside and outside. He's really not repping too much right now. He's not getting a lot of work. But I definitely, you know, with the size and with the length, you're going to notice with a lot of these draft picks, they went for length, and this is a guy who definitely fills that role. So
they got a lot of tall guys in this draft, as we'll see.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how they use him, but I think he's going to be a bit of a tweener.
Yeah, and he's going to be a developmental guy too. Like he's going to take some time as well. Any thoughts on him, Andrew?
Yeah. So as I said about the defensive tackles, it's like, you know, so at the moment, it's looking like our defensive end starters are going to be obviously Tank Lawrence on one side and Gregory on the other. Now, Gregory, we're really hoping that all of his past troubles are behind him and he can just play football, because his issue isn't on the field, it's off the field. But then the minute you get past those two, it's a bunch of guys who the casual fan's not going to know about. So, you know, bringing more guys in like this is good. As you said, there's a lot of teams out there that have always loved the wingspan on that defensive line, because if you can get that arm up, then all of a sudden it's, you know, the quarterback's no longer having to look at a guy who's, you know, 6'5". All of a sudden it's 6'5" plus the wingspan up in the air. So it's like, you increase that chance of getting, you know, the balls knocked down and that kind of stuff, which, you know, might lead to turnovers. So
they're piling up picks for the you know, the D line all over the defense. You know, I think Golston, you know, read to me like an intriguing athlete who's got a lot of height, and you're going to see the rest of your picks too. They're really tall guys. NAHSHON Wright, cornerback, your 3rd pick, 36th pick overall in the 3rd round. Your third pick in the 3rd round. NAHSHON Wright, cornerback out of Oregon. Again, height, 6'4". That is tall. 183 pounds. That is light. But the guy has But like, you know, like I was saying, he's got very nice height, very long arms again. And he was averaging 3 interceptions per year in college. And I think that's pretty good, because I'll tell you, you have top talent cornerbacks who don't have a nose for interceptions. I'm not saying interceptions aren't everything. That's the sexy thing. Just being able to cover your guy and just getting the, you know, blanketing him and just not letting him be able to catch the ball is most important. But interceptions obviously help. And he was averaging 3 interceptions per year in college. I think that's a healthy amount. It's not many cornerbacks do that really. And one scouting report believed he'd be ideal in a cover 3 defense. So I think you're getting a guy here. If you're looking to run, now I don't know, what type of schemes your new defensive coordinator is known for. I just remember the name, and I remember he had very successful defenses. Dan Quinn, that is. But this is a guy, just based on one scouting report I read, was that he'd be like a cover, like an ideal cover 3 cornerback. So this is a guy who I think you're adding to your stable of cornerbacks. You're stockpiling in that position as well. And, you want to roll out different looks. Here's NAHSHON Wright. You can roll this guy out. What do you think, Coach?
This is the guy I was talking about. This was the guy.
This is the guy you were talking about. And what were you saying before? I remember you saying something about what was he? Any good reports out of him?
He's flashing, man. Like, he's been flashing. Yeah. So at OTAs, he looked well. He looked like he fit right in. And then at training camp, before they put equipment on, he looked like he fit right in. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees starting reps before Shepard. Like, that's how much they like him. That's how good he's looked. And with the cover 3, he's like a guy you could see on the boundary. He's a boundary corner. Put him on a short side of the field. Have him lock up, the wide receiver over there. Because now you got to, like, we're talking about arms and wingspan on the defensive line. Now, if you put him between the quarterback and the wide receiver, now you got to get through that. You got to get through those long arms. But he's fluid for a big guy. He's another guy who plays sticky coverage. I'm really excited about him because they clearly liked him. Not a lot of people had him right high, and they took him in the 3rd. So
I was going to say that
they didn't let him pass.
See, I don't care about myself, but value. You'll have experts have their their place where they think a player should go, and that's fair. Is the ranking? There's nothing wrong with that. What round they think they should go, but when a team takes someone who was seen by many others as someone who you could have gotten later, but they take him, say, like in the 3rd round, like in NAHSHON Wright. The first thing that pops up in my mind is, wow, I wonder how they plan on using this guy. They took him for a reason. A lot of these people get like the same scattering reports for the same, for the same part, for the most part. And, I see something, because I saw this with other teams too, where originally I thought, someone maybe would have gone in the later rounds, and they when a team took him earlier, and the first thing that pops in my mind isn't, oh, these guys are stupid. The first thing that pops into my mind is, wow, I wonder how they plan on using this guy, because you can see some intangible traits here, traits that cannot be taught. You're either tall or you're not tall. You either got wingspan or you don't have wingspan. You can teach, other, plenty of things about the game of football, but you can't teach height and or length of arms. And, so I was wondering, I thought that was interesting. And I was curious to see, what Dan Quinn has in mind for NAHSHON Wright. Any thoughts, Andrew? They're getting cornerbacks. They're getting cornerbacks.
Yeah. So this pick has Dan Quinn written all over it. So Dan Quinn originally back in the day was in Seattle. Yeah. So when we think of Seattle back in the day, we think of Sherman and those kind of tall quarterbacks. So yeah. So the minute he picked this, the minute we picked this guy, you look at it and you think this is a Dan Quinn pick right there. Yeah. And so, as you said, the guy's tall and apparently he can fly. So it's, that you can't teach. You can't teach a tall, fast guy. Hey. Now, whether or not, he's got the mental fortitude to learn all the other stuff, well, that's obviously the part that if everyone knew if everyone knew that part of the process, then, Tom Brady would have been the 101, wouldn't he? So right. I think, it's a pick that the defensive coordinator obviously wanted. And then, as coach said, he's someone who's, constantly every week he's been mentioned somewhere saying he did this. So, from a Cowboys point of view, it's almost, starting to temper expectations and say, this is a 3rd round rookie. Let's, let's not make him an all-pro now. He's probably going to be good in the future, but let's just ensure that we, temper those expectations that maybe he's not going to go out there and start straight away.
You're right, temper, but don't temper him down too much. It's fun to get excited. It's fun to get excited about development and getting excited about next year. But you want to see it's fun to be excited about the progress you might be seeing with this guy. So that's cool. But hey, they're stockpiling those cornerbacks for you guys. Dan Quinn, he's making me nervous as a Giants fan, I'll tell you. JABRIL Cox, your 4th round pick, number 10 overall in the 4th round. Linebacker, LSU. People who've been followed NCAA football leading up to this draft, if you were looking into linebackers, you were very familiar with Jabril Cox like I was. I like this guy, would elect him for my team as well. You got yet another good another good linebacker here. 6'3", 232 pounds, which is not huge. But the guy, he played his first 3 years, and I didn't know this until I just went back to refresh my notes on these players in time for our episode. I didn't realize he had actually done 3 years at North Dakota State before he transferred to LSU. And of course, at North Dakota State, he dominated his conference. He was actually voted the MVP, most valuable player, defensive player in that conference. I think it was the Missouri Conference, if I recall correctly. And that was in 2018. And then at LSU, he had 58 tackles in 10 games. That's almost 6 tackles per game. That's good. The guy is athletic. He can cover tight ends. Not many linebackers can do that. A lot of times you have to put a safety on that. It's not easy for linebackers to do that. He can do it. This, I thought, was he's got great range. He's a quick guy, and when he hits, he's hitting hard. I like this guy a lot. I actually thought he'd wind up going in the 3rd round. I thought you guys got a steal here in the 4th round, to be honest with you. And I thought the value was just fantastic. So, Andrew, any thoughts on Jabril Cox?
I guess probably from a Cowboys point of view, it's a bit of a head scratcher as far as where he fits this year. I can't help but think that this is a pick looking for next year. So obviously we've got 2 of our linebackers who are both sitting there on the last year of their deal. Yeah. So maybe it's sort of thinking about that kind of, what's going to happen there, because I feel like, especially, they take Parsons, and then we've got, Jalen Smith, and we've got Van Der Esch as well. So you've kind of got those guys, and then his name escapes me at the moment, but was a safety at Atlanta that Quinn brought across.
Keanu Neal.
Who?
Keanu Neal. So he's moved to linebacker.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I feel like our linebackers are sort of, we're starting to go a bit deep there. So I wonder how much he's going to play this year. But as I said, I think it's, I suspect Jalen Smith won't be back next year.
Yeah.
And then whether or not Van Der Esch is probably a question mark. So I think this is probably a pick looking probably not this season, but next season. So
yeah, I agree with you. I would assume, and again, you guys, I don't know the Cowboys like you do, but I think you're definitely looking forward. This, I think, could very well be a forward-looking pick, Andrew, in that you have talented linebackers on the Cowboys already, but are you going to be able to Van Der Esch, like, and are these guys, are you going to be able to maintain them? Are you going to re-sign them? Just things up in the air. And I think Jabril Cox actually gives you some security there. And he might not be making an impact this year, but you give this guy a little seasoning, a little salt and pepper, a little time in the cooking pot, and I think he could wind up being something pretty nice for you. What do you think, Coach?
So I try not to scout the helmet, when I'm scouting. So Jabril Cox, he's playing at LSU, and I'm a fan, and they've been dumping out linebackers left and right. I thought the 4th round was value for him. I didn't think he should, some people had him ranked like top 5 linebackers. I just don't see that. He hits hard, but I don't think you can really use him in the run game consistently. He's more of a nickel linebacker.
That was the knock.
He's a guy who maybe he can develop into that, right?
Yeah.
Because the willingness is there, but I just don't know if he can do battle with offensive linemen consistently and win and get to the ball carrier. He's the type of guy who you're going to see him on nickel downs because he can cover. He's very good at that. So he's a little limited, but he's good at what he does. And I think there's a role for him. And I completely agree with Andrew. So if Leighton Van Der Esch earns himself a huge contract and it's not with Dallas, I'm okay with that, because that means he dominates this year. And that's fine. Dominate, go get yourself paid. If we happen to pay you, that's fine. But he's got that neck thing. It worries me. So kick ass this year and then, go somewhere else. And I think when you brought up Keanu Neal, I think they moved Keanu Neal to the linebacker. He's going to be a nickel linebacker this year. And I think Jabril's going to be learning from him, right? The old guard and the new guard. Dan Quinn coached Keanu Neal in Atlanta. He drafted Jabril Cox in Dallas. I think he sees a little bit of something in both of them and hopes that they could work together and it could help Jabril Cox advance, and he could be the guy he wants, somewhere down the road. So I think it's a good value pick. My expectations aren't too high for him, but he's a good football player. Like I said, he had 3 years of production, not at a top level, not at the SEC, but he played 3 years in college and then a 4th year at LSU. That's a lot of production.
you want to see when they're coming in. Most of the vast majority of his career was in a small school, but at least that's what you want to see from small school players.
And he dominated,
domination, and he dominated.
Right.
And then he went to LSU, and he really didn't skip a beat.
No,
so
he was good. He was a good ball.
Good. I thought 4th round was, I don't think he was ever going to be like a 2nd round pick or anything, but I thought 4th round was good value for them. I really did. Okay, moving on. All right, offensive tackle. Cowboys have been known for a long time for their offensive line. You got beat up last year, getting a little older too in terms of their most talented players. You also had this center, was it Frederick?
Travis Frederick.
Who retired last year. So he took some hits
after Guillain-Barré syndrome. After he battled that, his leg took a shit on him, and then he came back and played after that.
Right. He was only like 30 years old, right? I believe.
Yeah. Or you remember how much people killed that draft pick? Do you remember?
Not me, but Andrew, you do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, reach. Oh, what a reach. Jerry doesn't know what he's doing. He drafts himself an all-pro.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's good when you're getting quality offensive linemen like that who aren't like, top 10 picks. When you can get a starting center who's like a Pro Bowler for years.
He was smart.
You'll take them as a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick. That's great. But when you're getting them back into the 1st round, that is phenomenal. But you had Josh Ball here. I like this pick a lot. It's not like I knew a lot about. I didn't know much about Josh Ball. I was familiar with the name, but I went back, of course, to prep for this video, reading up on him, and I just liked what I read. I mean, again, the guy is 6'7", 308 pounds. The guy is obviously he's very big. He's also very athletic, and he's quick-footed for an offensive tackle. He played mostly right tackle and some left tackle in college. So you got a guy and he also had transferred from Florida State. He had some character issues there. Yeah. And so he was another transfer. He transferred to Marshall. But the way this guy reads, I think in a few years' time, maybe like two or three, like maybe 2 more years, he might be battling for starting position for you guys as a tackle. I have here in my notes, I think this guy's floor is a very good, valuable swing tackle for you. And I think his ceiling, it might be starting right tackle. I'm not saying it will be, but I think it's a legitimate possibility that with enough seasoning, enough time, enough experience, he could be a starting right tackle for you guys. What do you think, Coach? What are your thoughts on Josh Ball?
So he had a domestic violence thing, and that's part of the reason he fell. So I'm not a big fan of that. Mm-hmm. I think he would have went higher if he didn't have that. This is a guy who could have went the 3rd round, could have went the 2nd. So the talent's there. A little bit of a character issue. This is again a guy Jason Garrett would have not drafted. We had Greg Hardy during the Garrett years, but that was not a Garrett decision. Garrett wanted nothing to do with him, but Jerry was desperate. So this is another guy who's got talent, but he's got suspect character, but we need some insurance. Lyle had that hip. He was out all last year. Tyron hasn't played a full season in God knows how long. And the last time, we have guys, our tackles are going down, and Dak's getting the crap kicked out of them when they go down. We have nobody behind them. Chaz Green was terrible. Yeah. So, man, we need a swing tackle. We need somebody to step in because they're going to play. Our swing tackles are going to play. It's going to happen.
Yeah. How about you, Andrew? Any thoughts on Josh Ball?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you've read up the domestic violence stuff against him, it's pretty horrific. So, from my personal point of view, if he's out of the league in a year or two, I probably will be happy enough with that. From a football position, I think he's definitely got talent. And then, look, with the offensive line, so, I think I mentioned to you guys the other week, I feel like I hadn't really heard stingers at all until about like 4 or 5 years ago with the Cowboys. And then all of a sudden, everyone in our team started getting stingers. And so for those who are listening who aren't really sure what a stinger is, apparently it's sort of, an issue with the nerves in your neck, basically, causing you pain, essentially. And so Tyron Smith, basically, when they put him on PUP last year, went off and he got his neck fixed. And so allegedly he's pain-free for the first time in a couple of years. So, whether or not that's true or not.
Now he's got elbow tendonitis.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going to say whether or not that's true or not, and whether or not he's getting another injury, you don't know. But yeah, I tend to agree. I think at some point we're going to need, every team in the league is probably going to need offensive line help at some point of view. I feel like it was kind of, in a way, kind of a blessing in disguise last year to get a couple of those guys playing, those free agents we had last year, getting them on the field. They've now got playing experience. So at least we've got that if we need it. And then, Ball's probably someone who might see some playing time this year.
This guy's going to give you. He's going to be a good, valuable swing for you, man. They're so important. My gosh, they're so important. But here's another theme that I've noticed. That's now we're going through the players. A theme for this draft class. They're very tall and they're very violent. Moving on.
Yes.
Moving on to SIMI Fehoko.
Very fast.
SIMI Fehoko, wide receiver out of Stanford. 35th pick overall in the 5th round. Again, 6'4". The guy is tall, 222 pounds. Wow, that is big for a wide receiver. In 2019, I like Stanford product. I do. I like players coming out of Stanford. 2019, he had 6 touchdowns, which is healthy amount, and he averaged 23.6 yards per reception, which is a Stanford record. He took a step back. I think it was like 15 yards per reception last year, but whatever. He actually put up that huge number in 2019, and he had at least one catch of 40-plus yards in 8 of his last 15 games. The guy is big and he has speed, and you're taking this guy in the 5th round. He's obviously not, an elite prospect, but when you start getting to these later rounds, like the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, I refer to these as the stocking stuffers. These are traits that you're looking for that you can work with and possibly develop into being something, better. You look at like Tyreek Hill, I believe off the top of my head, he was a 5th round pick. The guy was known for speed, for being able to take the top off of defense with the speed. And lo and behold, he winds up developing his route running ability. And now
he produced at Oklahoma State his freshman year. Right. He had some issues as well. That guy was a very talented young man who, troubled himself out of the first.
Some of these guys need to work on their game when they come. Well, a lot of them do, but some more than others. And I think Hill was one of those guys. That's why he wasn't like a 1st round pick. And SIMI, I'm not saying SIMI is going to be Tyreek Hill. I'm
just saying Tyreek I think was a little more of a blue chip. He had domestic violence as well. Like I get what you're saying. Same draft round. He could.
Yeah, maybe he's going to be Hill, but you've got traits like Hill had speed. This guy's got height and speed, and he can for a 5th round he could wind up being, not that you need help at receiver right now, but everyone needs depth. Everyone needs depth, and I thought this was really nice value in the 5th round for you guys. A really intriguing prospect. Andrew, what did you think?
So he and a free agent that we picked up, Jaquan Hardy, who's a running back. They're 2 of my guys who were sort of like deep sleepers, and in the end, it's one of those things. It's like the worst thing they could have done is go to my favorite team because Simi's a bit older. Like, I think he's going to turn 24 this year. So I feel like he probably, like let's say he went to a Detroit, for instance, where he's going to have a chance at more playing time. I think that probably would have been beneficial for him. I just feel like he's going to get sort of stuck down the depth chart a bit with the Cowboys.
Guys get injured, guys move on free agency,
So look, I think he's got a lot of traits that are good. And then, like we have a couple of guys at the Cowboys who, reporters who have always argued that the Cowboys haven't really had too many burners who can take the defense and just blow the top off. And, having a couple of guys like that, you can just throw on and say, okay, just, go to the end zone. We're going to try and chuck the ball to you. I think is always beneficial. So
he sounds like his height. He sounds like it could be a nice red zone target.
Yeah. So look, it'll be interesting to see. I'm skeptical on how much he's going to get playing time based on the people in front of him, but you never know.
Yeah. How about you, Coach?
I'm interested to see if he can play special teams, because if he can't, there's a chance he doesn't make the squad. But here's the thing, the Cowboys, they've been very good with the cap over the last few years. And I know Steven is keeping an eye on him because Noah Brown, he's been around for a few years, but now I think he's making like $2 or $3 million, which if they can get that off the books, if they can get rid of a guy like Noah Brown because a guy like SIMI Fehoko steps up, and then even Cedric Wilson was the guy we drafted like 2 or 3 years ago from Boise, who was the guy who was supposed to be our take the top off the defense. So if he can work both of them out, that's going to save him like $3 or $4 million. So I think there's a few guys in the Cowboys organization that are hoping he steps up and he takes their job so that they can get rid of them and get them off the books. But right now, you know, that's what's in front of him right now.
You know, every team's got players, you know, that, you know, really are kind of like past their, you know, I guess their due date in terms of like, you know, value of their contract.
Yeah, they're good, but they're, you know, what they do isn't special. They just do tough dirty work.
Yeah, if he can develop to, say, being like your number 5 receiver, number 4, he could very well be taking the spot of someone who's, you know, making a few $1 million. You know, you're saving a few $1 million bucks. So I liked it. Hey, listen, go ahead, cut him, and hopefully the Giants pick him up. I can dig that.
No, we're gonna get rid of Noah Brown, and Jason Garrett's gonna
get out of here.
Jason Garrett loves him some Noah Brown.
Oh no. Jason Garrett needs another head coaching job somewhere else.
I like Jason Garrett.
No, I got nothing against Garrett. Okay, Quinton Bohanna, 6th round pick, the number 8 overall pick in the 6th round, defensive tackle, another defensive pick out of Kentucky. Kentucky's been producing, you know, a good amount of players more and more every single year. Kentucky. Let's give a round of applause to Kentucky. This dude is 6'4", 327 pounds. That's nice size for a defensive tackle.
We haven't had that size in a while.
That's good. Yeah, and he's got you know, he's big. Obviously, he's another guy with a very long arm span. You know, he's known to be a nose tackle. He's a space eater. He's what you want from a tackle first and foremost. A guy who can push the pocket you want that. That's great, but you know, you got to start. Number 1, bare minimum. They have to eat space. They have to be run stuffers, and that's what this guy does. So whether or not he's going to do it at the next level, we'll see. But I thought, you know, some of these intangible traits here, 6'4", 327 pounds, you know, the guy's a nose tackle. I think that's a good thing to get here in the 6th round, and I liked it. I thought you got some good value here in the 6th round. What did you think, Coach?
So I think this guy is an investment in your investments, and we invested in linebacker pretty heavily, you know, over the last few years. Jalen, Van Der Esch, you know, we got Parsons, we brought in Cox, we got Keanu Neal. You want to keep those guys and allow them to do their jobs. You put a guy who's 327 pounds right in front of them, so the offensive guard in the center can't go to the second level and get in their way. So this guy, we haven't had a big boy. We brought in Dontario Poe last year. He's washed. He didn't see the ball. This guy's going to eat space, and he's going to help our linebackers run and hit. So I'm excited because, again, it's 6th round, but this is value because this is a guy you can put on the field just because of his size.
Yeah, and listen, it's 6th round. You're looking for these types of things that stand out to you, like this guy's size and his length, and not just that, but you know, I think Kentucky's been producing good players, and for a 6th round pick, you need guys like this on your team, and it's not sexy, but it's valuable. How about you, Andrew? Any thoughts on Quinton Bohanna?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, when you start getting to this kind of area in the draft, you're really looking for either, you know, someone who you look at who's like, you know, quite often you'll see this is where they start drafting, you know, special team captains or some kind of thing where they think, yeah, we've got a position that we can sort of, you know, take them. But I think you know, as you said, I think he's got those kind of traits that you're like sitting there going, okay, yeah, you can't teach size, you can't teach bulk, you know, like I'm, you know, you probably can't see, but I'm a big guy, right? So I'm, you know, about 6'7", I think, give or take.
Stop.
No.
You're 6'7"?
Yeah, but I'm a really thin guy, right? So I've got no bulk. You can't just take a guy like me.
Add him up, Dan Quinn.
So you can't add that bulk. So, you know, I love that, you know, getting it at this kind of time in the draft. And so, like, it's really funny to, like, probably not so much the last couple of years, but before that, you know, one of your guys at the Giants, Snacks Harrison, when he kept Snacks Harrison, it'd sort of be a free agent for a bit. And I think, why aren't the Cowboys bringing him in? Because I feel like we haven't had a space eater in ages, someone who can just you know, encapsulate that whole sort of center of the defense. So yeah, look, I think it, you know, in the 6th round, something like this is great. It's you know, 6th round is a dart throw anyway, but it's a good dart throw. So yeah,
I like it. You know, I have a feeling if there was still an 8th round, they still had an 8th round in the NFL draft, we would have heard Andrew Campey's name being drafted by the Cowboys. They like that height. If there were an 8th round, sorry, You should have played football in the 1980s when they still had an 8th round. Okay, but I did like that pick a lot. We're moving on though to a guy I really did like a lot in the 6th round. I had my eye on this guy for late round value, and I was looking at like cornerbacks helping the secondary for the Giants. I kept looking at this guy. I liked him a lot. He was a cornerback. Israel MUKUAMO. Israel MUKUAMO, right? MUKUAMO, right? MUKUAMO. But there's an O at the end.
Yeah, that's how he pronounces it.
We're going to say Israel MUKUAMO. Okay, there we go. He's going to have to change how he pronounces it. I'm sorry. It's spelled with an O. He's wrong. I'm sorry. He's a cornerback.
What do cows say?
What's that? They
what
say
cows say?
MUKUAMO. Okay, MUKUAMO. All right, fine. You win. MUKUAMO. Cornerback out of South Carolina. 43rd pick in the 6th round. 6'4", 212 pounds. This guy screams safety to me.
Yes.
And he was playing, and that's what I loved about him, is that he was playing cornerback in South Carolina, but this guy screams safety. Again, long arms, 34 inches, they're long. In 2019 against Georgia, consistently one of the top teams every single year in the NCAA, he had 11 tackles and 3 interceptions. Okay, that's a freak game, I get it, but you know what? That's against Georgia. That's a top team. And he can, I have in my notes, he can play safety too. I think he's going to wind up being a safety, or at least a backup safety. And he's got intangibles, again, that make him possible fit in multiple schemes. This guy, I think, is going to be a jack of all trades for you guys. I love this pick in the 6th round. And just everything I kept reading up on him, I thought he was more like a 5th round pick. I thought would have been fair value for this guy. But I kept seeing him being mocked to the 6th round. That's where you got him. I like him a lot. I really do. What do you think, Coach?
So that they have him playing safety right now, like you said, that's where it fits. And all from the podcasts I listened to of the beat writers who are there, at Cowboys training camp, all they can talk about is just how big he is and how long that defense looks when they're running out of defense with him at safety and right in the corner. It's just massive. You could tell they're enamored with size right now. So I'm interested to see, man. Preseason's next week. We're playing the Steelers, so let's see how he looks.
Unbelievable. Andrew, any opinions on Israel MUKUAMO?
Yeah, well, Coach can probably sort of tell me, but I feel like he's been sort of out for the last few weeks with injuries. Is that correct?
No, I haven't heard much about him. Just about how massive he looks when he's out there.
Yeah. But so once again, 6'4", it's another Dan Quinn pick based in that kind of, Seattle kind of sort of concept. And then, takeaways sort of, as Coach was mentioning sort of earlier, that the Cowboys for a long time have had a bend, don't break defense. And that's all well and good. But then what tends to happen is you sort of, if you start struggling a bit, you get tired or whatever, and you're not getting takeaways, then all of a sudden it really puts pressure on your offense. So I think trying to get some guys in who can actually take the ball away, I think is really beneficial. So I think that's what they've looked at. They've looked at height and they've looked at people who can actually go and get the ball. So it's probably more risk than we've used to in the past. But I think, I think most Cowboys fans are sick and tired of our vanilla defense anyway. So we want some picks.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. And you know what? I think Israel, I don't know if he's not going to be a starter. I don't know. He might wind up starting somewhere down the road after a few seasons. I don't know. I believe in this guy. I really do. I like him.
Hopefully Malik Hooker, who we just signed, comes in and stays healthy and kills it. And we don't have to see any other safeties for about 5 or 6 more years. That would be ideal. That
would be nice. And I do love my safeties as well. Okay, your last pick, guys, the 11th pick. It was the 10th pick overall in the 7th round. Matt Farniok, guard out of Nebraska. Nebraska has historically been known for producing very good offensive line talent. I don't know if it's been that same reputation recently. To me, it seems like the best colleges have been like Notre Dame, Iowa, Wisconsin. Nebraska used to be an offensive line factory, sort of like LSU is with wide receivers. And but
DBU, baby.
Yeah, you got Farniok out of Nebraska, 6'5", 311 pounds, and I was not familiar with this guy at all. So just reading up on him. What was that?
Either was I.
Yeah, so I was reading up on him a decent amount before this episode, And I just liked his biography. He had lots of experience at right tackle in college, and but he's one of those tackles, and it seems like most tackles are always projected to really play better at guard in the NFL. But he comes from a family of athletes. Basically all of his brothers, his dad, they all played college football. That screams to me football knowledge. This is a family that's always around, the holidays, around the fireplace, or on the phone. They're talking football all the time. So this guy probably is, has a very high football IQ. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Also, two-time team captain over at Nebraska. I like a trait like that. I really do. It means a lot to me. These are the type of guys that show up early, leave later, help out their teammates, and are willing to stand up and give advice. And he was right tackle in college. And listen, even if he is going to move over to guard, the guy's got right tackle experience. So you're looking at, I don't know, maybe this guy could wind up down the road developing into a starter, but he's a 7th round pick, and not everyone's going to be a starter anyway. So everyone needs depth, and this guy could wind up being really, really nice depth for you. And I thought it was a good pick for your last pick in this, in the draft. Yeah. What do you say, Andrew? Go ahead.
Well, so I noticed today that you guys also, I guess yesterday for you guys, the Giants signed Joe Looney. So I'm a bit bummed at losing him, because he was a great kind of sort of fill in the gaps kind of guy for us. Yeah. So I guess they're trying to,
good locker room guy too.
Yeah, so I feel like they're trying to find someone to replace that kind of a bit of guard, bit of center, just chop and change, whatever.
Yeah.
The minute you talk about this, as you said, when you're looking at I mentioned earlier, when you're looking at late round picks, you're looking for something that you can sort of hang your hat on. And I feel like for the Cowboys, probably for the last 10 years, maybe more, there's been that discussion around the team that, we don't have leaders. And I feel like the scouting department have really started to look at, okay, in these later rounds, let's look at the team captains and let's look at people from, families with pedigree and that kind of stuff to try and, maybe get that either diamond in the rough or someone who has leadership qualities that can, be a really good locker room guy. So, yeah. I feel like it's trying to, maybe it's trying to replace Looney as a player and Looney as a locker room guy. We don't know.
Yeah. So. I liked him. I like what he brought to the 7th round. How about you, Coach? Any thoughts on him?
I mean, so outside of Zach Martin, the other guard position has been pretty rough, and I don't know if Connor Williams is going to have it. McGovern out of Penn State's going to have it. So I think there is, that's probably our weakest link, because I think Biotish taking over center. I think he's going to be all right. So I think that this guy, he can go in there and compete, because I don't think that job is necessarily Connor Williams. Connor Williams is even taking snaps at center, because they might be working him in as our backup center. So I think guard is fair play. Let's see a right guard.
It could be good competition. I thought he read like I said, I liked his biography, so I think he's interesting. I thought that was for a 7th round pick. I think he did really well there, guys. I really do. But anyway, that's the last pick, the 11th pick of your 2021 Dallas Cowboys draft.
We made it.
Yep.
What a marathon.
There's good coverage there, guys. Hey, for you, the viewers, if everyone, you see the blue bar at the bottom there, all the Twitter handles for me, Coach, Andrew, and we have 9 other contributors and co-hosts to Toilets to Titles. Follow us all. Great team that I work with. A lot of fun. We're putting out more and more and more content all of the time for you.
Check out our website, baby.
The website, check it out. It looks fantastic. Andrew, you're an artist. It was beautiful. And what you did for Schepps was incredible. To tell you,
Schepps knows.
He has nothing on you.
Schepps knows, man. He knows.
That's right. We'll see how much he knows. And don't forget, please, just as a reminder, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and give us that 5-star Apple review. It takes 30 seconds. If you could do it, that would be great. But other than that, guys, that's it. We have fully covered the ins and the outs of all the Dallas Cowboys picks for 2021. I love the fandom. You guys are legion. You're everywhere. You're passionate fans, and it's awesome. Guys, we are done. Good night. And I'll see everyone. I'll see the viewers, subscribers tomorrow with another video. Peace out, everyone. Take care.